Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to the hashtag Celebrate Columbus show. My name is Josh Burnett. As you can see, we've got a great guest with us today. Super excited to be coming to you from Millrace Park. It's a beautiful day in Columbus, and we're here to introduce you to one of the great leaders in our community, SIHO President and CEO, John Sattler. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Really
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here. We're talking about SIHO and all of the commitment that you have made to our community through serving us. You've been here for a while, and you guys are doing some awesome stuff. And through the show, one of our goals is to connect you to the local businesses serving our community. And SIHO has been around for a long time, and we're so grateful for their commitment to Columbus. I wanted to introduce you to the president and CEO because sometimes with an insurance provider, you might not know a lot about your insurance. You know, me personally, I saw that I have a SIHO, the SIHO on my card, and at first I didn't know a lot about that, and through getting to know John and his team, I'm just so impressed with the service that they've been giving our area for a long time, and wanted to bring him on the show. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about you and SIHO. For those 3 or 4 people in Columbus that might not know you, tell us about John Sattler.
Sure. I've made Columbus home for about the last 20 years. Previous to that, I grew up in Louisville. This is actually my second stint at SIHO. The first was 98 through about 2004, 2005, then worked in Louisville and Cincinnati. But we raised 6 kids here. We never moved from the area because it's a great area, and it was a commute that we could do, and we did not want to uproot the kids. So it was purposeful that we stayed here. And then about 4.5 years ago, decided to come back to SIHO because of all the interesting things that they were doing, and opportunity, and being able to be closer to home was a huge benefit.
Awesome. So, many people have SIHO on their insurance card in our community, and so grateful for that. I know particularly our family has had to learn a lot more about insurance than we ever wanted to know with some of my wife's health things. But tell us a little bit about who SIHO is and what you all do for our community.
Yeah. So we're a locally owned provider health plan, been in business for 30 years. And through those 30 years, while things might have changed a little bit, the bottom line is, how do we provide support and help for those who enter the healthcare maze, so to speak? Mm-hmm. And it really is, it's about making sure that somebody can get to their physician or to the hospital, but also making that experience the best it can be. So providing quality, cost-effective care, but also make that experience as stress-free as it possibly can be.
Yeah, and insurance, as people are watching, we know that it's a complicated thing. But I've been watching your guys' social media, and you guys talk a lot about how SIHO cares, SIHO empowers, and SIHO navigates. How does SIHO show that they care?
Well, through a variety of ways. One is we're very, what I would call, customer-centric. And what I mean by that is, when somebody calls into member services, it's not just a random call on a random day. We need to take care of that member because somebody's calling in because they need help. Mm-hmm. So not only do we do that, and we look at it from their perspective, because nobody calls it's a traumatic event usually.
You're right.
So we've got to take the complicated and make it a little bit easier, and do that in a way that is respectful of everybody. The other way we care is we have a medical management team that's local, and they do health fairs.
Yeah. And
there are times they'll go out to, and I can remember an example where we went out to a health fair, and one of our nurses who had been with us for 25 years was doing checkups, and so doing blood pressure. And an individual came in, and their blood pressure was through the roof.
Oh, wow.
So high that the nurse said, we're going to stop the health fair, and we're going to get this person to the emergency room now. They were able to do that. The person, luckily, was fairly close to having some major issues, but they were able to get that under control, help that person get healthy, and then they were able to get back to work. So not only did you prevent something from happening, or the nurse prevented something from happening, but we got that person controlled, their blood pressure was controlled, and then they were able to get back to work so they could be productive for their employer. That's what we're all about. How do you do those type of things?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really cool story. I know for me as a small business owner, you work with a lot of small businesses through your brokers. How are you empowering in navigating kind of the tricky road of insurance with both your brokers and employers that are trying to do the best they can to serve their employees.
Sure. Well, that's the real opportunity we have. There has been, as you know, a lot of change in the health insurance field over the last 10 years. And one of the things is there is all kinds of data out there. Data on physician visits, data on members, all those type of things. And what we have the opportunity to do, and I think we can do that from a local side of things, is how do you integrate all that data into something that's not just meaningful for SIHO or meaningful for the physician or the hospital, but truly meaningful for that member? What does it tell them to do? And not only do we have to identify that, we have to simplify that so we can communicate it consistently and in a way that members and patients and employees can understand and act on it.
Yeah.
And that's something that as an industry, we have not done a very good job of. But working with Inspire Health Partners, working with Columbus Regional Health, we're getting closer to being able to make that happen, and that would be a huge leap forward. And we have the ability to do that on a local basis.
That's awesome. And I know, you just talked about Columbus Regional Health. They're one of our sponsors that has shown they care so much about, our community by sponsoring this show and obviously involved with you all. Let's talk a little bit about your connection to Columbus as a company. You're obviously an industry leader in the region, but your headquarters is here in Columbus. What does that mean to you, and why is that important?
Well, it's extremely important to the organization because I think Columbus allows us the access to all the professionals that you have in bigger cities. So whether it's healthcare related, whether it's population health related, but we have it in a smaller town where you can actually pick up the phone or walk across the street and work with people to come up with a solution. And that's another advantage that we have is we can be nimble enough to see the information and come up with a solution in a very short period of time, whereas others aren't able to do that just because of the size of where they are headquartered.
Yeah.
So it's a huge advantage, and you can actually go out and community leaders care here, and they want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And healthcare is front and center to that. So it's a neat opportunity we all have.
That's awesome. And I know, I've seen the SIHO Blue out in Columbus at several events, whether it be volunteering or a part of those things. What are some of the ways that SIHO is involved in our community?
Yeah, that's a great question. And being civic-minded, community-minded is a huge principle for the organization. And that started from our board of directors on down, is we are a community asset. So how we are able to give back to the community is hugely important. And that's great for the company. And we do that through United Way, and we sit on the chamber board in a number of different ways. But I really think so that's valuable. The real win for me is that it makes our employees feel great because they're giving back and they have ways to interact within the community that they might not have. And to watch that happen and watch teamwork happen through a community event is really gratifying as a leader. And so I think it's a win all the way around for everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we're glad to, just see one of the leaders as far as our employers in the community giving so much back to Columbus through, like you said, through United Way or serving on various boards. I mean, I know that that's something, especially probably since you've become president and CEO, you're very focused on. Is that because kind of how you grew up, or has that just always been a quality that you've seen with SIHO?
It's interesting. I can't say I grew up that way because I grew up in a little bit of a bigger city. But it was instilled from the first time I was here to when I became president and CEO. The board of directors said, focus locally. It's important to us. We want to help the health of the community. And I think together we're able to do that. So they've instilled that, and it's a rewarding path to go down. So once you start doing it, it becomes, it's just part of your DNA.
I'm sure there's so many different questions that you guys get at SIHO, but what are some of the frequently asked questions you get?
Yeah, I think obviously there's the talk around the Affordable Care Act and what are the changes going to be to that. What are the ways we can lower healthcare costs and make things less expensive, and that's always probably the top two. The third one that gets asked in a little bit of a different way but it really is around how do you improve how do you get them to have a healthy lifestyle? And it doesn't mean that we're going to dictate what somebody does. But if you really want to lower cost in healthcare, yes, you have to do a lot of the other things, but improving somebody's lifestyle so it's healthier is huge. It's a huge win. It's a huge cost win.
Right.
But also, people are in a better frame of mind. They feel better. They function better. So it works all the way around. It's not just a cost piece. Now, that goes back to getting the data and the programs and things that meet people where they are and make it easy for them. And that's truly what we're trying to do. How do you make those complicated things easy? And I think that's really the focus of the organization. So I talked about integrated data and all those type of things. All that, if we can distill that down into how do we make it very easy in somebody's everyday life to improve their health, we've won.
That's awesome. Yeah, and speaking of that and how you're talking about that, it sounds like you're very excited about the future of healthcare and specifically at SIHO. What are some of those exciting things coming up that maybe you could share with Columbus that can help us learn a little bit more and be empowered as we're making healthy choices?
Yeah, I'll go back to the integrated data. So we're working with Inspire Health Partners, which is our local ACO. Okay, so what is that? Well, that's an organization that is improving the quality of care that's provided by physicians and the hospital. Our job, and what you'll see in the future, is how do you marry those two together and make sure that the members know where to go, they can get an appointment, they can go to the physician that they need to go to see and have the continuum of care that's important. All of that creates an efficient, quality-driven system. If you do that, that will create cost savings just by going down that path. So, and at the end of the day, you still provide quality care that's affordable and it's local.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. We have really good care locally that a lot of communities don't have.
Right.
And so we're fortunate to have that.
I know that's something that we're focused on, getting that message, whether it be through nonprofits, through our city, public kind of sector, as well as small businesses. We've got just so many great local assets, as you call them, and so thankful to have you a part of that with SIHO. And before we go, though, we've learned a lot about what you're doing for us. But the question that we always like to ask people is, how can we help you? I mean, how can we help SIHO continue to grow and serve our community?
Yeah, great question. And you're right, I don't get asked that all the time, but I appreciate you asking. I think part of it is, as with any entity, I mentioned we're around for 30 years. Sometimes, people will forget that we're here. Yeah. So it really is, give us a try. I think the quality that the organization provides its employers and members is second to none. And I think sometimes we always think, bigger is better in terms of some of the bigger companies, but I think we really have a nice opportunity to provide quality service locally. So if it was one thing, it was, if you haven't given us a try lately, give us a try. I think we'll meet your needs and provide great quality health insurance.
That's awesome. Yeah, and make sure, one of the things I was telling you about earlier is I've seen SIHO be really focused with their social media and getting that message out to the general public. A lot of times with insurance, not everybody's communicating with the public in a conversational way, but I've noticed a push, coming from you and from, it seems like your organization, that you really want to let people know, hey, we're here to help and we're here to care. So if we want to learn more about SIHO and give you a try and learn, where's the best place to do that?
I think you could go to SIHO.org. You could look us up on Facebook or LinkedIn. And I have to correct one thing. The social media, those who work with me know, I probably wasn't the leader on that. I'm all supportive of it, but we've had others in the organization that really have pushed that. So
awesome. Well, shout out to you guys for focusing on that. And thank you so much, John, for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Before we go, if there was maybe one or two things, what do you wish everybody knew about SIHO?
That we're very committed to providing affordable, quality care, and that we are committed to the Columbus area in numerous ways and take a lot of pride in the community effort that we give back.
Awesome. Well, that really sums it up. And thank you guys, Columbus, for watching this episode of Celebrate Columbus, learning a little bit more about our insurance leader here in Columbus and really the whole region. And it's nice to put a face to the name of SIHO with their president and CEO. And I'm sure if anybody wanted to come by, they can come by the headquarters
Absolutely.
and give a tour and learn more about how you can serve. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching this episode of the Celebrate Columbus show. We'll see you guys next time.